I don't like his voice.
Well, that's important because it's the main, for me, that's the hook. Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm Brian.
I'm Dolan.
Oh, boy. Going back to the music roots of the podcast, we've got a beer this week from Belching Beaver, Deftones Phantom Bride. I don't know why I paused oddly in that.
I don't know, just for some drama, I guess. Here's some more drama. Let's open this thing.
Okay, let's see. Boy, I'm rusty. Man, it's been a while since we've been in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how I want to start, because I know Dolan doesn't agree with us, and that's okay. Or he doesn't agree with me. Here, let's see. I don't know how Brian feels about this. I don't like this band at all.
Okay.
And I tried. And I tried.
You got even farther than I did. I like a lot of music, right?
You do.
And I love to talk about music.
Yes.
And this is one of those bands. There's not that many.
Okay.
This is one of those bands that I know about. They've been around a long time. They have a lot of albums. Mm-hmm. I've probably heard 2 of their songs. I never had any interest. What I heard was not enough for me to even want to hear more.
Okay.
It's not that I actively dislike them, like Post Malone. Mm-hmm. It's just like...
Just had to sneak that in.
Yeah, well, they didn't have the
headphones
headphones
Dolan
on.
has headphones off.
Yeah.
They're not my thing. They're kind of lumped into weird genres, and there were other bands in those genres that I did like. Mm-hmm. They were better than for me. But yeah, we'll get into it. Inside of this soul you create, you hide from
yourself. This is fun. So I thought, okay, as I'm doing my brewery research, I'm just gonna look them up on YouTube and just let it play as was, or whatever, just to see. Okay, so
is that why your research is only 2 sentences?
Yeah, pretty much. Phantom Bride was the first. That was the first song I looked up. I'm like, okay, if they named a beer after this song better be kick-ass.
Right.
I mean, I can think of a lot of kick-ass songs.
Sure. Yeah.
But let's just off the top of my head, is there a beer called Appetite for Destruction?
I don't think so.
Because there should be. Is there a beer called Highway to Hell? Because there should be. If you're going to name beers after songs and bands, then you're going to pick a really good song.
Sure.
Okay? So this was the best part of the whole research. So I start playing the song.
Yeah.
And then I go to the brewery page itself. And it's almost like the song synced up with the video.
Whoa, like Wizard of Oz style.
Yes. That ran. So it's real easy to do. Just like go to YouTube, look up Phantom Bride and Phantom Bride Deftones or whatever, and hit play. Then open another browser window, go to belchingbeaver.com or whatever it is, whatever their brewery is, and there's a video that auto plays on the full screen. It's a full screen video that auto plays with the brewery and then packaging beer, and they're actually packaging this beer along with like peanut butter milk stout and the blonde ale that they
the
do.
honey one,
That's delicious, and and like driving forklifts and all kinds of stuff around the brewery, and people in the brewery. Maybe I just miss people in breweries and stuff in general. But yeah, it almost syncs up to the video, which, like I said, was kind of strange and cool all at the same time. So maybe the taste of this beer will change my mind.
It looks good. It smells amazing. It's
a very Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic hops sort of.
Don't forget Amarillo.
Oh, and Amarillo. All right, let's give it a shot here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, there's some nice bitterness on the end.
Well, it's got 60 IBUs, so that's a lot.
Yeah. 7.1% ABV. Belching Beaver has 5 different locations now, which, interesting, they have 2 in Vista, California, which I always thought it was like a Chula Vista or Santa Vista.
Sure.
I don't
just
think,
an actual Vista.
There's just Vista, yeah, and it's big enough to have 2 locations. North Park, Ocean Beach, and Oceanside. Belching Beaver is located predominantly in that San Diego area, so all of these are around San Diego. Company was founded in 2012 by Thomas Vogel, Dave Mobley, and brewmaster Troy Smith, who formerly served as a brewer at Coronado Brewing Company, which I think we may have talked about Coronado in the past.
Maybe. Okay.
It sounded familiar enough that I wrote it down.
Okay.
They, of course, began with their milk stout, which is the one that we've all had.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones that came to Nebraska. Ooh, that's good.
And now their peanut butter milk stout.
Viva la Beaver.
Oh.
Had that one Saturday, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right.
On tap, it was good.
I love their peanut butter milk stout. I think it's fantastic.
No, this isn't the first time we've had Belching Beaver on the show, is it?
It might be.
I think it is.
think
Maybe
we
it
talked
was
about
a
'em.
bonus beer. Did they do a Mexican chocolate one? Or was that a different?
They did a
They might
Mexican
have.
chocolate peanut butter version
Yeah, maybe.
of the peanut butter milk stout, yes.
Yeah.
Or Viva la Beaver.
But we didn't. If we did, it was definitely we haven't researched them and talked about them,
Yeah.
from what I can tell.
And they absolutely admit that the peanut butter milk stout put them on the map. They're like, no doubt about it. This is the beer that made us go.
Yeah.
Which I don't doubt whatsoever.
It was the first one I bought when it came to Nebraska. What was that, last year when they finally got here officially?
We started this, how long ago, Dolan? Year and a
Oh,
half?
boy.
2 years ago? Are we
It's
2
been over.
years?
Oh, it's at least 2.
Yeah.
I'm almost on 3 years working here, and we started like the 2 weeks after I started.
Yeah,
So
true.
I was gonna say I think about 2.5, maybe 2, almost 3.
yeah,
And I can say within that time frame, I went from not liking stouts at all to I have bought more peanut butter milk stout than any other stout in the market, no matter what, hands down.
Yeah.
It is delicious. They have a connection to music like no other brewery I think we've ever, connection to actual bands like no other brewery we've ever done. Like their first beer that they ever brewed was a Citra Pale Ale that they did for the Sublime anniversary. And that was October of 2013. So they were hooked up with Sublime 8 years ago somehow.
Yeah.
How does Startup Brewery get hooked up with Sublime? Like I don't...
There's got to be some sort of network. You know how many people, like, I've played random shows and then I get to talking to them and they're like, yeah, I was a, crew for whatever huge band for like 5 years. Like, oh, really?
AleSmith, remember them?
Yeah.
They have a Sublime beer currently.
Do they?
Yeah, it's like a Mexican
The Tony Gwynn guys.
lager.
Yeah. From a couple weeks back.
So Sublime is in the beer game. 40 ounce to freedom,
Well,
Maybe
that's
it's
true.
just 22 ounces at a time.
Okay, so I want to talk about where they got their name,
Yes.
but I also want to read something directly off of their website. Because you know how I fall in love with breweries and
Yep.
ideology.
Well, I wonder if
and-
it's the same thing I wrote down. So let's see.
No, that's actually
Oh,
not
okay.
it. No, but
All
it's
right.
fun. Here you go. So Troy, the brewmaster, which I think is even better than the founders didn't say this. Troy said this. The head brewmaster said, "We want to be approachable. If you ask me what beer is about, I would say it's about hanging out with friends, drinking beer, and having a good time. I mean, there's always time to swirl your beer in a cup, but that's really not the direction we want to go with our company. We want it to be approachable. We want to have fun, and we want to make great beer for people. And so we're going to keep doing what we're doing."
So no foo-foo cocktail-y beers,
Nope.
sounds like, for these guys.
Nope.
These are just crush-it beers.
They're going to make exactly what you wrote down on your sheet right there.
Yeah, that was the thing that popped up on the website when I looked at it. It just says, damn good times.
Yep.
Beaver pun, right?
Beaver pun.
There you go.
Which brings you to the name.
Okay.
I was kind of disappointed by this.
Oh, all right.
There's nothing special about it at all.
Really?
No. So the name was nothing more than the fact that they had someone that was going to be a partner when they first started that ended up dropping out. He's a big marketing guy, had the logo and the name already done. And he said, "You can have it. Here you go." Nothing special. He just thought it was funny. He thought the logo was funny with the beaver burping and the bubbles coming out of
Yeah.
his mouth or whatever. And they said that, a couple, every once in a while, they'll get somebody that comes in and be like, "That name is gross. You guys are weirdos." Like, well, maybe you don't belong here.
Don't come back
Get
now.
out. Right. Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of things because we've been talking about how the market has changed and different things are popular. Seltzers, right?
Yep.
So I just wrote down there because they have 3 different seltzers now that are out on the market.
Oh.
I don't think none of us have had. Maybe Dolan has, since he's more of a seltzer guy.
I would try this.
They have one that's a pineapple mango.
Yes.
They have raspberry and blackberry, which I would probably maybe try.
Definitely.
And then passion fruit and guava.
Yum.
And it looks, I think they're 12-ounce cans, but they're white cans. So they kind of stand out versus what the usual Belching Beaver is. It does look like, it looks like them in like a early 90s neon colors sort of way.
Oh, fun.
So kind of like the Bud Light seltzer colors stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But it's like pops on the can. It looks really cool.
Okay.
Pops on my microphone. Sorry about that, Dolan.
Boom.
Probably edit those pops out. But
That's why we got the filters on here, so protect that.
I did see, I like to look at the website too, but I don't read the stories and get the stuff that I think you're going to get. But
Sure.
I always like to look at the merchandise.
Yeah.
And this one spoke to me.
Okay.
They have their 7th anniversary. It was a T-shirt you could get. I don't know if it was on clearance or not, but they still had some. It's a black T-shirt, and it just says, "What's in the hops?" And it's got the silhouettes of Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and then there's a guy sitting at the table, and it says, "What's in the hops?" So I was like, "Oh, I bet Rich would like that." So that was their like theme for whatever year 7th anniversary was that. What's in the hops?
What's in the hops? I'm going to go look that up right now.
Let's see. Let me give you a little bit more beer information on the brewery that I wrote down.
Okay.
I wanted to go through these beers, and this will kind of maybe segue us into where we're going to go next. But
Okay.
this is the 4th beer that they've done with the Deftones,
4th?
and they already have another one out that is in the store right now. I saw it this weekend.
All right.
The first one they ever did was a double dry hop pale ale, and it was called White Pony, which is probably their most popular album. That's the one I heard songs from that were hits, I guess I would say, which I think came out in 2000 maybe. But that beer was the first one of their collaboration with the brewery. They made the next year a Mexican lager that was called Dia de los Deftones, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Then they had another one, which I think is named after a song, maybe. It's called Good Morning Beautiful. And it was a brown ale. Then there's this one, the Phantom Bride. And then just released like a week ago, February 2021, here, is a beer called Ohms, O-H-M-S.
Oh, I did see something about that.
And that's their most current album that came out in 2020. So those are the beers that they've had. So they've had a running collaboration with this brewery, which I think is interesting. So a lot of these, I used to collect until I lost my office at home. I used to collect beers that had musical tie-ins to them.
Oh, yeah.
Beer cans, I guess I would say, because I always consumed what was in there. Because what's the point?
Well, duh.
But this is the only brewery that I know that's done something with the same band over and over and over. So I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
I'd love to understand their connection to the band. Like, how did they get
Yeah,
that connection?
I could
couldn't
not find that either.
No. Okay, here's the good news.
Yeah.
The good news is the shirt is available.
Uh-huh.
The bad news is you have to be a medium.
Oh.
So,
Well,
none of us are going to be wearing
Dolan's
this
probably the
shirt.
closest.
I can't believe they even make a medium for being a brewery.
That's if the girls' shirts sell out.
Yeah.
Still get a
Okay.
medium.
It is a pretty fantastic, it really is from the show. Like, it's from the movie.
Yeah.
I wonder why. I wonder if that's just what they have left over.
Yeah,
from-
I think it's because it's like from a year ago or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
In the before times.
It's cool you bring up the Ohms beer because that's the one that I thought we were doing.
Surprise.
yeah. Yeah.
I like this can much better, the art
Yeah.
of it, than the Ohms one. Because the Ohms one, I'm guessing it might be just the record album cover. Maybe. I haven't seen it, but it just was like a face.
Yeah.
It didn't have this cool design stuff, which this almost looks more like the Dia de los Deftones look, like the sugar skull,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. It's a pretty cool can. That would make a pretty sweet tattoo. It does look like some flash work to me.
I suppose if you're into the Deftones, maybe.
Yeah, or if you just took that off, you didn't have the Deftones part, but
I guess.
a skull and some roses,
then
that's
you get,
done.
like, I don't know, fringe Deftones fans coming up to you on the street. Hey, look at that's a cool tattoo.
I don't think there's that
What's
many
your
of those.
favorite band?
You don't have to worry. Did you say founded in 2012?
Founded in 2012, yes.
Okay. What, you got anything else on them?
No, that is
Here's
it.
what I wrote.
Okay.
Because they had a cool page. And we can talk about it later. I won't hit these states, but they had a little page on their screen that showed the distribution. But then it also showed how many barrels they make per year, which is 44,000.
Wow. Okay.
And then they have 170 employees.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was kind of cool. Right on the homepage, it shows here's what we do, here's who we are,
Yeah.
and how many people we employ, and how much beer we make.
Huh.
Not everybody has those.
No. Yeah, a lot of them are, especially private companies like that, are.
Yeah.
They kind of keep that close to the vest.
I mean, I had to do some Deftones.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's right on the label.
Okay,
right?
okay.
It's right there. We had to get into it.
I'm going to stop disparaging them. I'm really going to stop. I promise.
I thought, well, surely this band's from San Diego. That's the only reason I could think of. They're a hometown group. Let's, collaborate with the best-known band that's around here right now.
Okay.
But they're not from San Diego. They're from Sacramento, way up north. So that's more perplexing to me. Is like, how did they hook up with these dudes? Because there's a lot of bands in California. I don't know if you
Right.
know this, but there's a few. And how they got these guys, I don't know. Here's something that I did learn, because I didn't know anything about this band. I knew Chino's name. That's it.
Who's Chino?
He's the lead singer, Chino Moreno.
All right, we're going to come back around to this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
We're going to come back around to that.
That's his name.
Okay. Fine. He doesn't look like a Chino, I guess. I don't know. Is this a nickname? Like Flea?
It is a nickname.
Okay.
We'll get to that. I got that part of my research.
All right.
But I want to read you a quote that ties into the beer. This was on the website.
Okay.
And it's talking about their most current beer, the Ohms beer. Mm-hmm. But I think it speaks to all the collaborations with this brewery. It says, Ohms continues our exploration in diverse flavor profiles across our collection of beers. The philosophy that we practice to elevate and evolve is embraced by the team at Belching Beaver. So from what I understand on the research I did, that the band has done that. They've changed their sound many times, incorporated different styles of music into into what they do. Right. They don't make the same album over and over again, it sounds like, which some bands of that time frame continue to do.
Of course.
Like cashing in on the same old sound. They're not interested in that.
All right.
So I give them props for that.
You know what? There's something to that.
So here's what I got for the band breakdown, because I literally knew nothing about them.
Okay.
The band, the singer, is Chino Moreno. We talked about him. He's vocals and
Rhythm guitar sometimes.
that's the one, rhythm guitar.
Oh, okay.
He started doing that in the late 90s. So they were a band for 10 years before he started playing guitar.
Kind of like, okay, so Eddie Vedder couldn't play guitar until,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm
and
guessing
then
when you're around a band that long, you're going to pick it up,
you pick
right?
it up. Sure.
So Stephen Carpenter is the lead guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the original founding members,
Okay.
as is Abe Cunningham, who's on the drums. Those three guys have been together the entire time.
Okay.
They were founded in 88, so we're talking, what, 35 years?
Holy cow.
So that's a long time.
You know,
That's longer than most breweries.
that makes sense, though, because I think the first time I heard the Deftones was 95.
Yeah. Their
Like their
first album came out in 93 was their first album.
Okay.
Actually, you're right. It was 95. They signed their first big record label deal in 93.
Yeah.
So they were founded. Currently still in the band is Sergio Vega on bass, and then Frank Delgado. He's the one they added in 99. So he's the newest kind of member.
He's a DJ player?
Yeah, he's like the DJ, and he does keyboards and stuff too. So
Interesting.
turntables, kind of like that Incubus feel, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Like when everybody was kind of doing that in the late 90s. Well, guess what? So were they.
Okay.
First album was called Adrenaline in 1995.
Okay. Yes.
And then the second one was called Around the Fur in 97.
Which one had the baby nose sucker on the cover?
That was the
that
first
Adrenaline,
one,
the
I
first
think.
one?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
And then this is the one where they kind of hit the mainstream. And that's White Pony. And that's the first beer that they did with the brewery. It came out in 2000. They won a Grammy for a song called, let's see, Elite. So if you've heard that song, it's pretty decent.
Are you familiar, Dolan?
No, I thought you were going to say Change.
Was a hit, but it didn't win the Grammy. Change in the House of Flies. That was the MTV video, You Couldn't Escape. It was all over everywhere.
Yep.
That was the big song. Their most recent album was called Ohms, like we talked about before. It came out in September 25th of 2020. I broke down this little blurb. Was talking about all the different styles of music that they have been called or associated with.
Okay.
And you're going to see, I guess, why it's hard to say what kind of music they play.
Okay.
And also that they're not just in one genre. So these are all different styles that allegedly describe their music. Alternative metal, art rock or art metal, experimental rock, new metal, which I was not a fan of, post-punk, post-hardcore, dream pop, drone rock, post-metal, shoegaze, post-rock, stoner rock, trip-hop, glitch, math metal, psychedelia, and funk metal. Those are all the different styles that they play. They have sold 10 million albums.
Okay.
Which is nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
But some, super bands sell that in a first week or something. But they're still doing it, still making shows and when you can do that stuff. But making albums.
When you're funkin' metal, then I guess, I don't know, you don't sell as much.
They have been called the Radiohead of metal.
Now,
and this is why, because they're so experimental.
Stop it.
I actually...
Stop it.
That's actually a pretty good description, I think.
And here's the other thing. This is why I was like, why don't I like these guys?
Okay.
Here's their influences. This is off their website. Faith No More. I'm like, okay, yeah, Mike Patton, that's great.
I love
Anything
Faith
he's
No
in.
More, yes.
The Cure, yeah, sign me up for that.
Robert Smith, yes.
Depeche Mode, okay.
Yes.
This is where it's interesting. Duran Duran.
Fine.
So
Okay. Fine.
Some sing-along choruses, maybe.
Yeah.
Meshuggah, you ever heard of them?
I've heard of them, yes.
And then this pioneer rap artist, Africa Bambaataa. So we're talking late 70s, early 80s New York.
Yep.
That's their list of our influences. And I'm like, I like most of those things.
I should love this band.
And I just never did. Okay, here's what we were talking about earlier with his name, Chino, right?
Okay.
His real name is Camilo Wong Moreno.
Okay.
Chino is short for Chinito, which apparently they say is a slang term that Mexicans use to call Chinese people. Chino's mom was like Mexican and Chinese.
Okay.
And when he was born, he looked very Asian. And his uncles started calling him Chinito, and then it just switched to Chino. And it's stuck ever since. So he looked more Asian than Mexican. His dad was Mexican, and his mom was Mexican/Chinese.
I gotta tell you, looking at the dude, he doesn't look like that. He doesn't have those features.
I don't know. Maybe he did.
I'm glad that's the reason, because when you said his name, that's all I could think about is like my stepdad calling everybody, old stepdad calling everybody Chinese Chino.
Yeah.
Like
that's why. That's where it comes from.
Interesting.
And he's like embraced that, and he that's his name.
He owns it. That's good.
Before he made it big, while they were kind of still working, playing the local shows and stuff, he worked as a record shipper at Tower Records.
Oh.
Which a lot of bands, if you ever do the research, somebody in the band always worked at the record store, right?
You want to watch a fantastic documentary. It's on Netflix. It's about Tower Records.
Oh,
it's 2 hours, and it is great.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It's great.
There's really not any great record stores anymore.
No.
Used to be Capitol Records in L.A. was a awesome place. Tower Records was great.
So the documentary is called All Things Must Pass.
It's a George Harrison song.
It is great.
Okay, I'll have to check
You
it out.
need to watch it. It's a Colin Hanks movie, so Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah. Well, then it's going to be good.
It's fantastic.
And then this is the last part. So I wrote down a few. All the guys in the band have side projects.
Okay.
And some of them have multiple side projects. The DJ guy we talked about earlier, he released his own like solo album. But nobody else has done solo stuff, but they've had other bands or played with other people. Chino. So I just wrote down a few of the collaborations he's done, or like, guest featuring, whatever they say nowadays, right? So the first one I could find, he collabs with Ice Cube on a song called Wicked, which is like a hidden track on Life is Peachy, Korn, 1996.
What? Really?
So you've probably heard it. If you had the CD and you let it play, you've heard him before with Ice Cube on that song.
Wow.
Then he also has done vocals with, and this is where this band gets lumped into me with some of this other stuff. So when I was in Linkin, there's a radio station. It's called The Blaze. It's still around.
Yep.
And they're like the hard rocky, metal-y sort of channel. And a lot of these bands I would hear on there. So Seven Dust, Soulfly, Lamb of God I wrote down. That was pretty recent. He did a song with Tommy Lee one time.
Oh.
Tech Nine. So he's not afraid of rapping. So
Fine.
With those guys. Mike Shenoda, who I think was in
Linkin Park.
Yeah. He did a song with him and Machine Gun Kelly most recently.
Okay.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, or I've watched it on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, it's not bad.
And then the most recent one is a artist that I actually like and listen to, and I was surprised to hear this. But her name is Caroline Polacheck.
Feeling like a butterfly trapped inside a plane. Maybe there's something going on. I'm not insane. If I'm already on your pain, to make it worse, go on and hit me in the heart. Hit me where it hurts. Go on and hit me in the
She's got like an album or maybe two out, but those are the most recent collaborations that Chino's done. But if you're our age, like Rich and I, and the music that we listen to, you've seen Deftones t-shirts, you've seen them maybe even live at a festival, or the Riverfest or something like that.
I have seen them live.
They've just always been around, and they always seem to be. But how they're tied up with this brewery, I could not uncover, except that this guy seems to like beer, and
Good.
they like music at this brewery. It seems like in pop culture. So
All this seems like it's like an equation that should equal Rich likes this band.
yeah, that's what I thought too. For me,
And I don't know. And here's what so Dolan and I had this conversation yesterday as we were preparing for this, and I think I identified what it is. I don't like his voice.
well, that's important because it's the main. For me, that's the hook.
Sure.
Like I don't know enough about instrumentation to be like, oh yeah, he's my favorite metal drummer. I don't know that. But if your voice isn't great for me, like it doesn't click to me, then I'll find something else. There's a lot of music out there.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm not like a fan of Deftones. There's songs that I like. I don't think I could play one of their albums all the way through, but that is the same kind of turnoff that I have. Is just sometimes the voice just doesn't do the song justice.
Yeah.
I looked up. Okay, so you had mentioned yesterday. You said you like Chevelle, and I love Chevelle. I think Chevelle's a great band. I like that dude's voice. I think very similar style. They're same it's the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways people would say Chevelle maybe ripped off the Deftones.
Possibly.
Especially with Chevelle's one of their top songs, "Send the Pain Below," sounds just like a Deftones song.
Yeah.
But
And there's another band I'm thinking of, and I cannot remember their name. They're a little bit heavier, but the lead singer has a very distinct voice, and either you really, really like them or you really, really don't, based on the lead singer. And I can't, it's off the top of my head.
that's System of a Down for me.
Well, sure.
Surge.
Yeah.
It's like you either like his voice or you don't, but the band is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll look this up. Keep talking.
I think for me, it's when he goes to the scream part, like the more yelly stuff.
Yeah.
That's where it turns me off. Like there's that whole subgenre of metal that has that, and it's just, that ain't for me.
No. Volbeat is the band I'm thinking of.
okay.
Volbeat.
Oh.
You either like that, and I like that guy's voice. I think it's interesting, but you either like it or you don't.
Volbeat's one of those bands where like I'm always in a room with a bunch of Volbeat fans
Like, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
like
they're
those
great.
guys.
They're great.
Distribution for these guys. I was surprised, and I don't know if you wrote this down, but I was really surprised. Here we go. Arizona, California, Delaware, Idaho, Nebraska, Nevada, Oregon, Texas, Utah, Wisconsin.
That's weird because it's different lists than I wrote down off their website.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's what I wrote: Washington, Oregon, Alaska, Hawaii, California, Nevada, Idaho, Utah, Texas, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin. That's what I have.
You may have a updated,
But I don't have no Delaware.
no Delaware.
I didn't have no Arizona.
Arizona on there.
I pulled that from the same spot that said how many barrels they make. And
I assumed this was a more the Belching Beaver was more widely available. That's a small list.
It is pretty small, and it's mostly West Coast. That's kind of maybe why it was such a big deal, because that
Maybe.
peanut butter stout had won multiple Great American Beer Awards, I believe.
Yep.
And so when you can finally buy that. I think you can buy that in a store. That's a good day when you can get a gold medal beer
Right.
that we haven't normally had before.
It is a good beer.
Yeah.
It's strange though. I have sent beers to our friend Aaron Biddle in St. Louis, and he's like, "Oh, I love these guys. I had this before." Well, how have you? Really? Because you've just been in. You
Yeah.
really haven't left Missouri
Yeah.
recently, right? I mean, you've come up here to Omaha a few times, but
Yeah.
is that what you're drinking? But so he's still aware of them.
Yeah, and that's another thing is distribution changes so much. I mean, there's beers that we've had that have started in Nebraska, then they went away for a few years, and they came back, and
Yeah.
it's all about who your distribution partners are, and I guess that sort of thing. But
Yeah. TripAdvisor, each of the locations, so out of their 5 locations, every one of them had at least a 4 out of 5. At
That's
least.
good.
And this was one of the most recent reviews was November of 2020, and I wrote it down here because I thought it was very timely for where we are right now. It says, "We were on a little COVID-safe getaway, and this place is amazing. They have plenty of safe outdoor space, and when pandemic ends, we would love to return to the beautiful indoor space. Beer is fantastic, and great selection of food, and the staff was really friendly. Great place, 5 out of 5.
that sounds pretty good. That
There you
sounds
go.
exactly what I want.
Right?
I want the pandemic to be over.
Yes.
Yep.
I want to go to a brewery.
Yes.
I'd
Yep.
love to be outside.
Yes.
Yep.
And I would like to have food and beer.
Of course.
Ding ding, all those things.
This sounds like heaven. Did you just describe heaven? I think you might
I
have.
think. Well, it's definitely not Iowa.
Untapped, 52,000 check-ins.
For this beer?
For this beer.
Well, it's because it's last year's technically. I mean,
Sure.
I think they make it for a year, and then the next one comes out, and they stop making this, and they start making that other one.
Canned on 11/13 of 20.
And you can get the Ohms one now. So I'm
Yep.
guessing we can't find this, but we could get that one. And I'm probably going to try that Ohms. I don't even know what style of beer it is. I think it's I want to say it was like a white, like a Belgian white.
Oh.
So they
Interesting.
change the styles every time too. So just like he was saying about how they try to evolve their music and things.
Yep.
So far, they have not done the same beer style. Even they've been all over the place with that. So
I would definitely try that then. So if I find that, yeah, I'll
they
pick it up.
From what I noted, I didn't write all the beers down. They don't have a whole lot,
No.
and it's mostly hops. There's like a few hoppy beers, and then they're peanut butter stouts, and like that's it. Like they're just making beer that you want to drink, and they don't care about all those other crazy things.
Look, if you're good at what you do, why deviate?
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that many states,
I guess.
you're doing something right.
52,000 check-ins. Where do you think we fall? That's a lot for 1 year, and it's an IPA. I'm not trying to tip the hand at all here, but I think you. Yeah, we'll
I'd
see.
say it probably is going to rate out 3.68.
I'm going to go 3.7 on the dot.
3.90.
Whoa.
High.
That is high.
That's high. But here's the thing. Like I wrote down a couple of things as you were talking. Super smooth. It's a nice, smooth.
Yeah.
And it's very drinkable.
And the aroma's great. The flavor's really good. Yeah, I would drink these for sure.
Yeah. I would not be sad if this. Oh, you have Phantom Bride on tap? Fantastic. I'll take that.
I would think that people that are into Deftones would buy this beer, right?
Yep.
I mean, if there was let's say there was a Weezer beer every year, I would buy that.
Oh well. Come on.
What is your idea of a Weezer beer? Because
at this point, it's probably Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid with like some vodka spilled into it. That's probably a Weezer beer now. But
hey, they're coming out with a Weezer-inspired album, according to the band.
That's what I read.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because every album lately has been all these different weird things. Okay. Their last one I actually really enjoyed, OK Human. It's like their version of a Radiohead album, they say. And then they're working on one that is Weezer inspired, so it's going to be rocking. Tons of solos.
Old Weezer.
Old Weezer.
Yeah.
Like
before they went like
Blue
super
album
pop. Yep.
and Buddy Holly and the Sweater Song. And
watch them throw a curveball and throw old Weezer, and it's just a death metal.
It could be another Maladroit album.
I don't understand how we brought up Radiohead 3 times in this.
Yeah, there's no Radiohead beer that I'm aware of.
Radiohead arguably is my 3rd favorite band of all time. So,
wow.
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't just leave it there. Where's the other 2?
Well,
Pink Floyd,
and Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
okay.
see, there
we go.
Yeah. And Radiohead, man. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. So, a couple of fun ones coming up over the next few weeks. We go back to a beer that Brian first tasted back in 2013.
Hopefully, it's not the same batch.
I don't know. We'll find out. I wrote down here. I'm just gonna tease it with your comment.
Oh no!
From Untapped.
This is like reading my old Facebook posts,
right?
They're pretty bad.
I felt like I went back in time and I was reading Brian's diary, his beer diary. Your comment was just roasted coffee with 2 slammers.
Oh boy!
And then, and then we come back to a close state, Iowa, for another beer, another sour that I think is going to be a ton of fun. A sour with some cinnamon and weirdness in it, and I bet the research is going to be equally as interesting.
Yep.
So
that's all I'm going to say.
All right, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another beer.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.